Hey guys, welcome back. You're sitting on the Big Game Hunters podcast. Landon Hood, Rory McMillan, exclusive to the hashtag MagnaOnAir digital network. We are bringing an awesome show today. I'm really excited about today's show. We've been talking about this for quite some time now. We're talking about the black market, the hidden job market, the hidden jobs that nobody even sees posted online. You know, they're not on LinkedIn, they're not on Indeed, they're not on Workopolis, they're not on Monster.com. These are the jobs that are hidden. These are the ones that are like, man, there's so many jobs out there these days that are just nobody knows about. They're not posted. They're with all of these great companies. And we want to help you, our community, our audience, find those jobs, even if they're not exposed out there to you or accessible to you.
Absolutely. I mean, so many people come to us as recruiters and they want help finding opportunities. And for us, it's not as simple as just going online and Googling and saying, okay, what's the latest sales jobs happening here in Seattle, or what's happening in Vancouver? It's realizing what industries, what companies you want to get into and doing your research, right? I mean, so many companies out there have active job openings. They're not posting on Indeed. They're not taking the time to post on Workopolis. And there's lots of reasons why they're not going to do that. You know, it's a confidential search. They don't want to advertise the fact somebody's getting the boot. They might have, maybe they just rely on referrals. A lot of niche industries, a lot of companies out there, they think they know everybody in the industry. So they say, you know what, we're just going to rely on word of mouth. We're going to rely on our internal recruiters, or we're going to hire recruiters and we're going to go out and find those people because, we don't feel confident that we're going to find the best people from job applications.
So for the companies, Landon, that are out there, and I know that there's people watching this that own companies, people out there that are hiring people all the time, is the best tactic just to rely on your own personal network? Or they should be looking to monitor that network,
you should definitely
meet as many people as they possibly can before they make that hiring
No,
decision.
exactly. Somebody's looking for a job. What they tend to do is they rely on their personal network and they look online for job postings. There's so much more you can do out there, right? I mean, reach out to people in your industry. There's so many tools. It's 2016. I mean, use LinkedIn, go to industry trade shows, go to industry conferences. There's so many ways you can really stretch your network out and reach out and find what's out there. I mean, you can do your research. Maybe there's a company you have in mind. Maybe there isn't that you would love to work for. But do your research and find those companies and reach out directly and say, hey, listen, I'm interested, because we're talking about these hidden jobs. We're talking about those jobs that aren't necessarily posted. They're not necessarily out there and available. And honestly, that's more jobs than not, are not just readily open and available. As much as things, in this day and age, it's like we can find anything online. There's just so much opportunity out there that people just can't.
That they don't know about or not exposed to, right? So what would you say some of the key steps are, Landon? What would you say the number one step is? If I'm on the job market, I'm an active candidate, I could have just got laid off or terminated or decided to resign, opportunity wasn't for me. What would you say the number one thing is for someone that wants to get into one of these companies? Okay, what do they need to do?
Well, first of all, number one thing is they need to know what they want. They need to think, if they have identified a company that they want to work for and an industry that they want to stay in or that they want to work for, figure out which companies there are, which companies you'd be interested in, do your due diligence, don't just find what's readily available, and then reach out directly. You've got LinkedIn, reach out to a hiring manager. If you're looking for instance, a supply chain job, reach out to the director of supply chain for your cake factory that you want to work for and reach out directly to them and say, hey, listen, I have these qualifications, I'm looking, I'm interested, what are the next steps, and just be open and communicative with them. That's all you have to do. I mean, life, work, everything, it's all about building connections.
And should they be going to the human resources department, or should they just calling into the receptionist, or going right for the hiring manager, looking up the hiring manager's name, whoever's on that job description, or going directly to the owner?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can depend on the size of the company, but generally a good rule of thumb is reach out to the person that you'd be working for. Reach out directly to that person who's going to ultimately make the hiring decision. And say, hey, I'm interested. I'm great. Let's would you have time for a coffee? Not necessarily do you have a job opening, not necessarily jumping right into that. But saying, hey, I'd love to pick your brain a little bit. I'd love to sit down, have a chat. See how you got to where you are, because I would like to eventually get to that point myself. And then from there you can leverage potentially, maybe he doesn't have an opening, but maybe he has friends that do, right?
Absolutely. And not just that, maybe they'll create an opening for you. Exactly. How many stories do we hear? We talk about this all the time. The Uber story, the Yesware story,
Twitter,
when there was really no jobs posted at the time during their early stage of development, and they got inundated with people, sending them handwritten mail letters and handwritten notes that really sparked the hiring managers and the owner's attention. And next thing you know, within 30, 60 days, they were hired.
The bottom line,
they took initiative. I think the number one thing that people need to do is take initiative. They need to, understand the company, light the fire, understand what that company's actually doing, and have a passion for that company. You're not going to send your resume to an anonymous company if you don't physically have a passion for what that company's doing, or the product they're developing, or the services they're providing. You got to understand the product, you got to understand the company, you got to be happy with it. and you got to do things that are thinking outside of the box to get the person's intention.
And Rory, you've ran a company before. We have people come in and apply through applications, but we love when we see people come in and reach out directly to Magna Search Group, reach out to the company and say, hey, I've heard about you guys. I've seen your shows. I've heard things about your recruitment process. I'd love to sit down and talk. We never turn that down.
We never turn it down.
Companies love that, right? That shows that they're passionate about that company. And companies are just people, right? Companies are just groups of people all working together for the same sort of task.
Right.
And so if you have a person coming to you as a person and saying, hey, I'm interested, I'm motivated to work with you guys, it's so hard to turn down.
And people are busy. They don't have time, right? That's the number one thing is time. People are busy. These companies, they've got a lot of things going on, a lot of meetings booked. They don't have the time to physically always read a resume that's coming in online or screen through the hundreds and hundreds of applications. You got to do whatever it takes to stand out, to get that hiring manager, decision maker excited about you. And the one way to do that is like writing that creative letter or something and talking about articulately about their product and development, your philosophy and your thoughts on how you can add value to the direction this company's going. And pick up the phone, make the call, right? There's so many people that just rely on sending in their resumes. Let's just spray and pray. If I get the call back, I'm going to take that company that's going to. Instead of waiting for companies to come to you, why don't you go to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2016. This day and age,
things are changing. Everything's changing.
Everything's changing, but at the same time, I mean, it's people are so used to things being readily available and easily accessible and Googleable, and so people sort of rely on that and expect things to come to them. But ultimately, you got to be old school in a certain way and actively reach out to these people and do it that way. People talk about networking, and but it's true. I mean, you do have to, generally speaking, put yourself out there because otherwise nobody's going to know who you are, right?
And do not just send your resume to info at the domain of the company. It's not going anywhere. You're absolutely wasting your time. You want to make sure that you have a qualified email address after you've taken the initiative to physically speak with someone and you've thought about that, right? I want to look at this company, the companies I want to work for, these 5 companies. I'm going to do whatever it takes to work at these 5 companies, even though these 5 companies aren't hiring right now. Or they don't have, they could be hiring, but they don't have the jobs posted. What am I going to do to get to these 5 companies? What actions am I going to take? What do I need to do to achieve me getting a job at one of these companies?
And obviously
how I'm going to make it happen.
And obviously we're a bit biased, but another route is going through an agency, and at the same time find an agency that is connected in your industry. Maybe do some homework, ask them directly, how many jobs are you placing these days in this industry? Do you have connections to any of these companies? Do you know anybody? Would you be able to get me into any of these companies? Set up an introduction. I mean, recruiters are a great way to find jobs with companies that aren't necessarily posting because they have those pre-existing relationships. But you got to use the right ones.
And how do we get the relationships? Through networking,
right?
It's networking.
Right?
Your network equals your net worth. The more you speak to people, the more you get your name out there, the more you can blow up, and the more opportunities are going to come your way. Maybe you meet one person and be like, oh, my friend's actually just starting a company that could potentially be up your alley. No way. Looking online. Oh, interesting. Pick up the phone, make the call, take action. And you never actually know what can happen, right? Absolutely. So we want to help you. We want to help our audience get ahead. We want to help you blow up in your career. There is a hidden job market out there. We're recruiters. We're headhunters. We see this each and every day. It could be confidential searches. They could be looking to get rid of someone. They're a hot industry. Whatever it may be, there's hidden jobs out there. You got to blow up. You got to mushroom your network, and you got to get your name out there. Comment in the section below. We're doing callers in very soon, and we'll see you next week.